So, you have a question apparently.
Now that I have taken this weekend, I am starting the book, so I'm not into the process in the book yet. Can I use the breathing technique to center myself, and can I do the 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the evening without having gone through the whole book?
But you are going to go through the book?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Yes. For the people that have done this weekend, you will already be able to recognize that you're in process. You've looked at the tools that take you from reactive to response. It doesn't mean you're not going to react. It means that you can't react anymore without knowing what you're doing. And also, by the way, it doesn't help to say to the person who's setting you up, oh, you're just a messenger, because that's a cop-out. All right? So don't even go there. Right? The messenger doesn't even know they're being a messenger. By you saying, oh, you're just a messenger, what you're saying is, this is not really that important. I'm not really going to take this seriously, so then I'm not going to do the work. That's for you. You never take the work to the messenger. When we do work like this, we're working with our unconsciousness. And as our unconsciousness surfaces, we go unconscious. That's why we have a process. That's why we have something to guide us every day, to assist us to stay conscious as possible, while we are going through our own unconsciousness. So the only way through unconsciousness is through unconsciousness. No getting over it or going around it. As we accumulate what we call present moment awareness, as more and more of me arrives here in this moment, my behavior will automatically transform. But as I'm entering this journey, I am going to react. So the first stage is I'm still going to react. And only after I've reacted and shot the messenger am I going to go, oh, I reacted. And then as I accumulate more present moment awareness, I'm going to react. And in mid-reaction, well, why don't you? Okay. In the middle of the reaction, I'm going to get exactly what I'm going to do. So I'll get it while I'm reacting. And then, as I accumulate more present moment awareness, I'm going to see it walking through the door. I'm going to go, here you come. And I know, you're the messenger. But you know what? I'm not falling for this anymore. So even though, as you come in and make me feel really angry, I'm not going to project that anger in any way. I'm going to dismiss you as gracefully as I am able to, and then I will go and do the work. And once I've done the work on that particular emotional blockage, then that messenger doesn't walk in the door, and that's the place we want to arrive at, where there are no messengers setting us up regularly, and that place does exist, a life beyond messengers. I'm seeking it out myself. I know it's there. It's the far-off country. That place exists only when we are truly here, because what the messengers are always coming to tell us is where we are not here. That's really the message. You're not here, and I'm going to show you why in this moment. And if you work on what I'm showing you, more of you will arrive here. And that's why we say the messengers bring us gifts. They bring us presents.
When I'm doing the breathing process and I'm using like an accelerated breathing, sometimes my breathing just slows down naturally and I realize it has slowed down, but it's still even and it's still connected. Is that okay?
When people hear the breathing and the way that I breathe in the intensive, they go, that's really fast. I'm not breathing like that. Okay, so let's look at that again. The reason for that is to stay as conscious as possible. The intent of this breathing technique is to activate present moment awareness and to work with very low frequency energies in our being that are drawing us out of this moment. So as we breathe at that pace, which is I'm increasing the frequency of my overall being, and I've said you'll notice that by what happens with your thought patterns. Suddenly your thoughts are going all over the place. Do not worry about the thoughts. Let them do what they're going to do. This is not about thought control. As you allow yourself to get more involved with this breathing technique, it will lead you into different ways of breathing. The golden rule is, as long as your breathing stays connected, you're doing the work. Whether you realize or not, as long as your breathing stays connected, you're doing the work. When you find, as you will when you do this work, that you start going a little feeling unconscious, deeply tired, that tiredness is a sign that you're about to enter an experience of integration. You're about to integrate something that's deeply unconscious. And what will happen is that you will want to stop your breathing, or you'll want to go to sleep. You'll want to back off from that because that's something that we've been hiding from ourselves from a long time or suppressing. And that's why at that point, if you feel yourself getting tired and weary and unconscious, if you increase the frequency of the breathing, it will help you to remain alert during that and to move through that. And you'll find if you stay with that tiredness and you keep breathing, there will come a moment when it'll just subside and you'll feel powerfully alert. Because what's happened is an aspect of your being which has been focused on a particular issue somewhere in yourself and been trying to integrate that. The energy that we use to do that is now available for this moment, and you'll feel it, an increased sense of alertness. The first time that we do this process, especially when we do it through the book, we are interacting with it mentally. We are doing the physical procedure of the breathing. We are opening ourselves up to the emotional processing. But really, because we are in such a mental state of being, that we are going to do this process first mentally. And while we do this process, what's going to happen, in other words, we are going to be taking in the information about the process and then doing the procedures as best we can. And we don't know the value of breathing until we've done the process once anyway. The value of breathing for 15 minutes twice a day is really only known by us in hindsight. And also remember, it's making changes at the causal point of our experience. So until we have emotional body awareness, we can't really see what it's doing. We can only see the effect in our lives if we know how to look for that. So once we've done the breathing once experientially, it's really good to take about a 3-week break. And when we take that 3-week break, it's very important that we keep breathing twice a day. In fact, when you do a process like this, which is entirely causal, everything about this process is causal. It is not concerned with effects at all. It's not concerned with drama. It's not concerned with any of that. It's purely causal. What this process is like, it's like going into the back garden that's been unattended and is overgrown and full of weeds, and going and clearing all the weeds out, finding all the pathways through the garden, and preparing some of the beds and planting some seeds. That's what you've done when you've done this process once. That's it. Now, if you walk away and release your responsibility for this work, for your own heart, weeds will eventually grow back. If you choose to go back into unconsciousness, in other words, not to live consciously, because this is what this is about. To be responsible for my heart means I'm choosing to live consciously. After 3 weeks of not doing the process, and during those 3 weeks you continue to breathe twice a day, then you can enter the process again. And I wouldn't just jump in again at session 1, because if you read the book from the beginning again, you're going to have a whole other understanding about what's going on. Because now when you're entering the book, you're entering with experience. You're no longer just entering this as a mental journey. You now have physical experience of the breathing. You now have emotional experience. You've had emotions come up and what that feels like. And so when you read through the preparation material, you will have a deeper understanding of why that preparation material is there and what it's really trying to tell you. You first have to have the experience to really get it. Remember that this book is written from years of experience, not from years of reading. It's written from experience. And so it requires experience to really get what it's trying to say. So that's why it's important to go in and do the process again. And people have done it 4 or 5 times. And those people will tell you that every time that they do it, it's often like a completely new experience. It's like reading the text for the first time, because the text will meet you at your level of experience. The more experience you have about emotional processing, the more you will understand what it's telling you. I'll give you an example of that, which is quite a controversial example, but I'll give you that example of that because I want to show you what it means. That if we only interact with our world physically, we perceive everything we're told physically. And then when we only interact with our world mentally, we perceive it mentally. And once we start to interact with our world emotionally, we will perceive it emotionally. So let's take something like the virgin birth from which Jesus came. Let's look at that as an example. So when I perceive my world physically, I actually think that Mary was a virgin and that Jesus was born of a virgin, because I'm seeing it physically. And then when I perceive it mentally, then I may accept it on some level, but I would have to believe it as a mental concept. But when I enter my own emotional body and I perceive it from an emotional experience, it'll become clear to me that Mary did not imprint Jesus on any level with anything. Her emotional body was absolutely clean and clear and pure, so that he could come into the world and be untouched by any imprinting. And therefore, that was the virgin birth. You see, as we get deeper into our own emotional processes, what we're going to find is that the things that we assumed about the world, we only did so because we were looking at only from physically and mentally. But for example, Jesus taught emotional body teachings. And in fact, he taught vibrational body teachings. And so when we get into vibrational awareness, that whole scenario of the virgin birth is going to even get deeper. We'll have a deeper, but we can't get get there yet until we've got there in ourselves. The same as in the presence process. When you first read the presence process, you're interacting with it mentally, but when you actually have the experience of emotional processing, you're going to have experiences about what's written in that book that are much deeper than what's apparent at the moment. It's written in that way. This is the question: what is the point of a perfect, so-called perfect being coming into the world, entering these tragic experiences, and then trying to regain perfection? I mean, why all this stuff? So there's different levels, again, of looking at this. So, for example, it's about understanding the dharma of what's going on here, of what this physical body is. If I want to be a champion bodybuilder, there is no ways I'm going to accomplish that by hanging out with my buddies in the bar. What I'm going to have to do, because I want to build a big body, right? So I'm going to have to go to gym and traumatize my muscles. I'm going to have to break those muscles down and let them build back up, because that's what weightlifting is. It's destroying the muscle and then letting it callous again and destroying it. And the amount of trauma that I can allow myself to experience will determine how big muscles I can grow. My strength will be determined by how much pain I can go through. So on one level, we're coming here to build a physical vehicle that has a profound mental aspect to it. And the mental aspect of this vehicle is not designed for thinking and analysis and even understanding. We only do that when we're mental. The thinking part of the body is a tool of navigation, point of focus. And the emotional part of the body is not designed for drama, although that's all we use it for. It's about energies that can move in motion, different types of energies. It's fuel for movement. And that's why when we enter the presence process, one of the chapters that we read about is helps us to redefine what we think of as movement. Okay, we think of as movement as moving the radio around the room to try and change stations. That's what we think of. So we think movement is a physical thing. So if we're unhappy with where we are, we try and move stuff around or move ourselves around. But what we'll find is that when we do emotional work and we adjust what's happening in the emotional body, the world automatically moves around us. Real movement is taking place only in the emotional body. When those energies move, real movement is reflected in the world. Real and lasting movement. The other movement is just motion, or actually commotion. So we have this organic vehicle, this profound vehicle that has a navigation system and has a fuel to it, profound fuels. And there's different levels of fuels. And to use it the way we use it in the world at the moment is the same as using the space shuttle to deliver pencils from England to France. We haven't yet discovered what we have here. Everyone's looking for the time machine, trying to build a rocket to take them to the furthest galaxy. Well, this is it. We're in it. We just haven't learned to use it yet. But we can't use it until it's strong enough to be used. We first have to get into it. Most of us are like a person who owns a car and spends their time standing next to the car, showing everybody the car, getting in the car and sleeping in it at night, but never switch the car on. Okay, polishing the car, look how beautiful the car is. We never switched it on. When we consciously connect our breathing, what we're doing is going for the first time. The breath is the key to switching on the machine. And then what we'll find is as we process our grief, anger, and fear, that it's not really grief, anger, and fear. That's what we called it. It's just energy, different types of energy that we can use for inner movement. Our most important task at the moment is to take care that we don't lose the vehicle. Because when you lose the vehicle, you can't go on the ride. So if we get into our drama, if we start to believe the reflections we see around us, the reflections are not real, but the projections that we get involved with are. They have very real consequences. And if I go into combat with my messenger, if I try to stamp my messenger out all over the planet, and I go into combat with him, you can be sure I'm going to lose my physical vehicle. And then I am out of the game. Sure, I can sit on the grandstands and watch the greatest events that's ever happened, but I can't be in the car and drive it around the track, and that's where you want to be, metaphorically. So our job is to take care of our heart center and what's bubbling up there so that we can establish real peace around us. Real peace, nothing that we have to force, no enforcing of peace. Real peace in wherever we are. That's our sole responsibility. And when we're in standing that place of peace, our physical vehicle will be untouched. And then when the time comes for us to be aware of what this is about for our vehicle, we'll be ready. It's all given. It's all given. But there's a rite of passage, and that's really about what's going on in our own hearts. I want to know what God is. I want to learn how to feel. So in my journey, I've come here to learn how to feel. It's the bottom line. Once I learn how to feel, then whatever it is that I am has the vocabulary with which I can now not only approach what I really am, but approach what God really is. That's why the heart is the rite of passage. So our only task is to feel. The feeling is what's real. The feeling will get us to get real. All we want to do at the moment is get real, feel. Whatever it takes, whatever it takes, for heaven's sakes. Whatever it takes. And it's not going to be what we think we're supposed to be doing. It's not about what we think. It's going to come to us from what we do not know. So those of us that enter this journey thinking we know will get stuck very quickly. That's why book study is so perilous. Because we believe that there's any knowledge in books. There is no knowledge in books. There is no knowledge in books. There's just information. There's just information. And if you take in too much information and you don't embody it, you go mental. Live in a completely illusionary paradigm. One in which you think you actually know something. And when you know, when I say I know, I have blocked off all learning. If I want to grow, if I honestly want to grow, I must accept that that growth will come from what I do not know, and that what I know is going to block me from the growth. And whenever we enter any experience, even if we enter it consciously, we're going to enter on the basis of what we know. Right? But we must be prepared to be wrong about it in every moment. And so those of us that like to stand in the place of being right, we're stuck. We're stuck. And that's the danger of being in a situation of facilitating anybody else in this world. We're helpful. We want to be in service. And so what we set ourselves up as a facilitator of others, which is apparently looks like we know something. Now we're stuck.
Sickness, injury, accidents, are they always a manifestation of an imbalance in the emotional body?
Sickness, injury, and accidents are all drama. Bottom line. They're the human drama. We call it the human drama. They're ways of accomplishing things outside of us and getting our attention from outside of us while we can't see, while we have no insight. And that's an important thing to understand, is that until we have emotional body awareness, until we function from felt perception and believe those eyes more than the eyes of the body. Remember, the eyes of the body can only show what's impermanent. They can only show what's impermanent. So until we have any insight, in other words, I can see within myself, I can see things from the causal point of my experience, and through the causal point of my experience, I'm going to look outside. And while I can only look outside, then what's going on inside of me has to be projected out there. And the experiences I need to work with have to impact this out there. But the moment that I allow myself to develop insight, which comes through feeling, then less of that will happen. And even when it does happen, I won't project it further out there. In other words, I won't use it as drama. I will approach it as dharma. So I'm still going to have events in my life which may be injury, sickness, illness, discomforts happening. But it's not about that. It's about, am I responding or reacting? Is that the dharma for me, or is that the drama? If I am sincerely entering a journey in which I'm going to take care of my own heart, then every one of those is an opportunity to do that at a deeper level. If I still do not have the maturity that is required to take care of my own heart, then I'm going to use that exact same event to get attention from the world and walk further away from myself into a deeper, inauthentic experience.
Hey, Michael, could you speak a little bit about gratitude?
In a time-based paradigm, I'm going to have gratitude by comparison. When I'm running away from my stuff, when I'm running away from the discomfort in my heart, every time I get to a place where I feel like I can rest and I feel comfortable, I'm going to be grateful, right? Because there are places where I'm not comfortable, so it's gratitude by comparison. It's the same as looking for happiness. Happiness causes a separation within inside of me. My search for happiness is only because I'm so unhappy. It's not an authentic journey at all. Search for happiness creates more unhappiness because it causes me to run further and further away from what's really going on. So gratitude by comparison is like, I'm glad I got food because the people in Somalia are starving. Okay, so again, my gratitude is reactive. It's a reaction. But when I deal with what's going on in my heart, when I take a look at that and I allow myself to experience that and to gain the dharma out of that, and when I use the dharma, I mean, what is the deeper meaning? What is the teaching? What is the purpose here? Then I don't run from my experiences anymore. Then I'm happy just to sit in this moment that I'm in. And when I sit in the moment I'm in, I will have the profound realization that this moment is the most profound spiritual experience I can possibly have right now. It's where I'm at right here. Then I become deeply grateful for discovering that. And I become deeply grateful for everything that brought me to that place. And I become deeply grateful for everything that's happening around me in that moment. A better word for it is appreciation. I begin to appreciate everything because I realize how beautifully orchestrated everything is to bring me to this moment, and that it was all given. I thought I was going to get something, and the only thing I've ever got is that it's given. So I become really appreciative of each moment that I'm in. And that appreciation is a powerful space to be in, because appreciation also means to make more. If I have stocks and shares and they appreciate, they become more. So by appreciating this moment just for what it is, it grows, it deepens, it becomes more profound. So going around going, I'm grateful for this because I know it's good to be grateful, it's not going to work for you. It's a good start. Gratitude is not calculated. It's not something we have to decide to be. It comes from inside out. It's a feeling that comes, wow. No one has to tell me to be grateful. If I'm truly grateful, it just comes.
I guess medication would be like automatic pilot for your drama. And how can you sort of get to a point where you know you can drop the pilot and, go on your way?
Remember that doctors are God too. Remember that the mental body has a role too. Remember that everything has its place. So remember that medications are created too. They're part of what's going on. They have their place. It's when we assign them an incorrect place. The whole thing about this journey, about the integrative journey, is it's not an all place. What happens is when we start seeking really deeply, we go into all places. I'm a disciple, or I'm a lover, or I'm a parent. Okay, but I can't be a parent and a disciple, so I'm going to have to leave my family and go and be a disciple, because I can only be this or that. And then we enter separation and fragmentation and inauthenticity again. This journey of integration is an and place. I can be a disciple, and I can be a lover, and I can be a parent. And when I get into the and place, some profound things happen in my experience. Remember yesterday we spoke about the DNA and how only a little bit of it's used. The scientists will tell us, the rest is just lying around, it's junk DNA. Can't use the DNA in an all place, because the DNA is about everything. It's not just about this or that. It's about everything. And that's why DNA spelled backwards is? Exactly. So when I am ill and I'm having physical, mental or emotional stuff going on, let me stay in an and place about it. If I stay in an and place, I will enter balance. So maybe I have severe depression, and when I'm not on my medication, it's so debilitating that I don't even know my own name. So I can take my depression medication and be able to speak to someone about what I'm going through and do the work to take care of what's really going on behind that. And if I stay in an and place, I will return to balance. And I will know, because the antidepressant medication, once I'm returning to balance, will become too strong for me. And so I can go to someone who's conscious and say, assist me now to begin decreasing this in a responsible way. So just because you've heard about walking and you've been using crutches all your life, don't just suddenly throw the crutches away. Maybe you'll fall over. So stay in an and place. Get out of this all thing. If you're on medication and you've been on medication for a long time, respect that. Respect that it was part of what brought you to this moment. It's what enabled you to get here. But now, how do you move from here? How can you take deeper responsibility for your experience? Because the deeper the responsibility we take, the more in balance we will become, the less we will require outer things to prop us up. But don't just throw away all the stuff quickly. You may end up in a worse experience than before. See it as a continuation. Whatever you're doing from this point is going to be a continuation of what's already been happening. In other words, my past is important to what I've come through. It's an and place. I'm not going to suddenly cut all that off. And any extreme behavior like that is reactive. We have to be responsive, responsible. Remember that the heart center is about responsibility, consistency, compassion. Those three things.
I'm very interested in how what we go through individually, whether we're connected or not, manifests macrocosmically in terms of religion, specifically fundamentalism.
Well, we have our own personal drama, and we have our own family drama, and we have our own community dramas, and we have our own cultural dramas. If you're involved in that, for example, if you're involved in being a part of a religion that's fighting against another religion, then your only place where you can restore balance to that experience is with what's happening in your own heart. That's the only place you are responsible for, and that's the only place you can go to transform any experience you're having. So the good and evil comes in when I'm seeking happiness because I'm so unhappy. And I'm unhappy because of the discomfort that's going on in my own heart. So what I'm doing is I'm running from it into another experience which I call looking for happiness, which is a sleep state. Okay. That's why we talk of our dreams. Oh, my dreams are to have this one day. Only sleeping people dream. Waking people have visions. So think about the American dream. In pursuit of happiness. When I'm in pursuit of... Pursuit? I'm in pursuit. Pursuit, it means chase, right? Run after. When I'm running after something, I'm running away from something. I'm running away from what's going on with me right now. From the fear, anger, and grief. And when I run away from something, I can't run away from it. There's nowhere to go. It's going to be wherever you go, there you are. Wherever you go, there you are. So what I'll do is I will turn it, the thing chasing me, I will turn it into the darkness. I'll give it horns and a long tail. And then I will project it outward into the world. And anybody who shows me my stuff, I will say, that group of people there are working for the guy with the horns. And that's how I project it out in the world. But my only place where I can authentically transform that experience is in my own heart, where I actually feel what's going on. When I transform that, I will lose interest in those dramas automatically. They won't even grab my attention. And then when I start watching the news, I won't know if I'm watching Saturday Night Live or the news. And really, watching the news is kind of funny. You start watching it from the point of drama. Drama, fear. Drama, fear. Fear, drama. So how many people have died of bird flu? You know? How many? Really, how many in a world of 8 billion? Okay.
About 100.
Right, about 100 people have died of bird flu. More people died yesterday because they weren't driving their cars, right? So now we can use those 100 people as a tool. Fear, fear. The real world is right there in the room where you are. And it's only in that world that you can radiate peace, from that place. Don't let people fool you that if you can leave that living room space of yours and go and do something out there, that you can add to peace. You have to do it. We have to do it in our own heart. That's authentic. And when you do the work to do that, you will realize that for yourself. That's where your power is, in the heart, in our own heart. There is no limit to what can be radiated from the heart because it's the causal point. Everything else is the effect of it.
Is messenger always negative or something that upsets us? Or what about the times when we're excited about something?
Well, then be excited. But be aware that excitement is really polar opposite of fear. It's like, people say, what do you do for fun? Right? Because my life's so shitty, I've got to go and do stuff for fun. So what do you do for fun? Your life must be pretty bad too, because mine is. So what do you do for fun? Well, actually, I don't do anything for fun. I'm having fun right now. And when I leave here, I'll still be having fun. I have fun until I go to sleep. And I get up in the morning, I want to have more fun. I don't have to go and do stuff for fun, okay? So it's the same as when you get very excited about something, take a look at that. Why are you getting so excited about it? Often excitement is riddled with nervous tension. So nerves, when something is excited, it's...
I've been doing transcendental meditation for many years, and so sometimes when I connect my breathing, I transcend, and then I wake up and realize I haven't been breathing.
I have no idea what transcendental meditation is. I've never done it. I've never read about it. So all I can say is that this breathing is not about meditation. Be very clear about that. So often when I'm facilitating people, I have them come sit there and they want to meditate. They breathe and they want to meditate. Well, already that can take you into an opiate space. It's delicious and comfortable, but nothing's going on there as far as emotional processing is concerned. That's why we need to pay attention to our breathing and keep it connected. If you find yourself you've gone out, well, you've gone out. You got out the car and you walked off somewhere for a while. Okay, so you didn't really go anywhere because the car is sitting stationary. Okay. If you'd gone out absolutely consciously and you could remember every moment of it, that may be something else. But that's not the intention of this work. We're not trying to get out of it right now. We're trying to get into it. Often we approach meditation because we're looking for another way to get out of it. So just be very aware of what the intention is. We're moving along the pathway of awareness as a whole, part of what's going on to us in humanity. So we've gone through very physical experience, which we could think of as the cave person period. Very primitive, physical, which lasted a very long time. Just trying to get the physical together. Just trying to get this consciousness to stay in a body. Then we've gone through a very mental experience, which peaked in the last 100 years, which was much shorter than that primal physical experience. And now we're going through an emotional experience that is going to be just as much shorter than the mental experience. In fact, it's going to be very short. This is my insight. Maybe completely wrong. I'm open to being wrong about it. But when we go through the emotional body, the journey is much quicker than all the mental stuff we've been doing. And if we go through it unconsciously, we will move from fear to anger to grief, because that is the movement through the emotional body. That's the pathway of awareness. So we will go from war and terror, fear, to Iraq, rage, and to grief, tsunami. We will see that movement moving through the world in that passageway as we do it, as humanity does this unconsciously. And if we don't participate in the experience, we will participate in that way. But if we take responsibility for the experience, it'll be an internal journey for us as we move through the emotional body. And at the end of the emotional body is the vibrational experience. And we don't even know what that looks like from this side, because we didn't even know what the emotional stuff looked like from the mental. It's only when we enter the emotional work through experience that we can go, okay, so I know, getting a feel of what this is about. I had no idea. It wasn't what I thought it was. It was deeper and more real. So whatever's happening to us, something is happening. The world's getting hotter because no one's dealing with the heat in the emotional body. And so it's projected outwardly as an increase of heat all around the planet. It's going to happen. It's happening to us. So when we're doing the presence process, what we're doing is decreasing our anxiety by explaining to ourselves what's happening to us. It's happening. It's either going to happen unconsciously or consciously. The thing about happening consciously is there won't be drama, and we'll be able to keep this vehicle through whatever the experience is. In other words, we won't interact with whatever is unfolding through fear, but through love. And love is not a mushy emotional thing that we're taught. Love just means to evolve. In other words, we'll use each moment to awaken ourselves deeper and deeper and deeper. And that is what love really is. When I do that for myself, when I offer myself that experience, and I take care of myself in such a way that I use this opportunity to allow myself to continually evolve, that's being loving, that's evolving, that's the loving relationship. When I'm like that towards myself, I'm automatically like that to everyone around me. If I'm not like that towards myself, then I'm definitely interfering with myself, and I will be going to interfere with everyone around me. And nothing comes out of fear that's worth talking about, really, if I'm doing that, if I'm not going to take the Dharma out of it. If I'm going to stay in the fear and only work with that, there's no purpose in the fear, to stay in the fear. It's move through it and overcome it and learn the wisdom from it, but not be chased by it, not make decisions driven by it. None of those choices, no choices made running from fear, based on the fear, can assist us in any way. And that's why watching the news cannot assist us. It's not about TV, good or bad. TV's neutral. You can go and get a DVD and watch profound, awakening movies on your TV. It's not about the TV. Oh, let's take the TV and throw it on the pavewalk. Okay. Bad TV. Bad TV. Not the TV. TV's God. But we can put what we want, choose, be responsible about it. Unless I do want to have a good laugh, then switch on CNN.
Kind of a strange thing to want to go into the uncomfortable. You're always trying to go to the comfortable. How do you see, it's almost, when you're going to the uncomfortable, you're going to where you've told yourself the whole life that you've had so far that, well, that's the wrong direction.
What you want to look at is why you're heading towards the comfortable all the time. And you don't have to go into the uncomfortable. The uncomfortable is there. That's why you're heading into the comfortable. You wouldn't seek out the comfortable if you were comfortable. You wouldn't even give it a name. Okay. So it's not about going into the uncomfortable. It's about getting authentic with what's really going on with you. It's not about seeking out you don't have to seek out the uncomfortable. It's got you already. Okay. Wherever you go, there you are. So when I'm talking about joy not being an emotion, is that we don't know what joy is because we've been striving for this particular emotion, this feeling good. I want to feel good, and we're doing that because I feel so bad. I wouldn't even think in terms of trying to feel good if I wasn't feeling bad. Why would it even come up? So I've had moments when I do feel good. I feel good for a while. I know this is not going to last, so let me hold on to it as desperately as possible. So I think that when I'm thinking in terms of entering joy, that joy must be about feeling good because that's all I know. But joy is not about feeling good. Joy is about feeling everything. Joy is a relationship I have with my emotional body, not an emotion, not any specific emotion per se. It's an and place. I'm happy to feel uncomfortable and comfortable. I'm not going to chase one and run away from the other, because that's going to create a division in my heart. That's why there's different levels of fuel in the emotional body. So happiness is a kind of fuel that moves us. And we have to get that from the outside world. We have to get happiness from outside ourselves. Happiness I get from the world. Something must happen for me to be happy. And I'm going to make something happen for me to be happy. And to do that, I'm going to have to go out and buy that car, or build that nice house, or marry that person, or get that promotion so that I can be happy. But I know it doesn't last. If I've done it, I will see that, it's for a while. I can go to my buddies and go, hey, check the car. But if you go to your buddies every week and go, hey, check the car, okay, it's not going to work anymore. So I better do something else. I better find a babe to put in the car. Now I can bring the car. Hey, check the car and the babe. Okay. And that'll work for a little bit, but it won't be enough. So I better get a house to park the car, and hey, check the car and the babe in the house. Okay. And so I go on. That is the pursuit of happiness. I'll have to work really hard, earn lots of money, because once the babe's in the car. So happiness comes from the world. It's given to me by the world depending on how well I cooperate with the world. Joy does not come from the world. Joy is something that I can only give myself. It comes from doing the work in my own heart, work that the world can't see and cannot participate in, the beginning of inner work. And when I take a look at my own desire to run for happiness and work with that and get real with that until a point that I'm not running anywhere and I can settle into the moment that I'm in, then I enter joy. And in that moment I can sit here and say, bring it on, anything. I don't care what feelings come. I want them all, because everything that I'm feeling is making this moment deeper. Now I'm in joy. But there's another fuel. It's called bliss. Now that fuel is like the jet fuel. And that fuel is not given to me by myself. The world doesn't even know about it. And only when I'm in a state of joy have I laid a foundation through appreciation of receiving it. And that fuel is going to come from a place that I don't even know exists, from something that is so greater than me that I cannot comprehend. And that fuel is going to enable me to move into a state of being that's incomprehensible. But that doesn't come from me. It's given. That's the fuel that this vehicle is designed for. But you can't, okay, I'm going to go meditate so I can get some bliss. It doesn't work like that. You get happiness. Something you go out and get. I want to get happy, go and get happy. And bliss is grace. And grace is that which comes from outside cause and effect. It doesn't operate according to the law of cause and effect. There is no reason why it's given that we can possibly understand. And bliss, I suspect, is what activates vibrational awareness, is what moves our state of being into that level of awareness. An awareness in which we now stand in the world physically, but are no longer of it. And that's when we enter a state of being called no order of difficulty. Miracle consciousness, ongoing, no order of difficulty, which we can't even really taste it yet. But we can begin to experience that through working with our inner presence, because it works with no order of difficulty. And it shows us this by setting us up when we least expect it. It has no difficulty in setting us up. In ways that we can't even protect ourselves from anymore, can't hide. But it takes great responsibility to enter that state of being. It requires responsibility. Because when we have the faith to move mountains, literally, we also are in the state of being in which we become aware that the mountains are in the right place. Don't interfere.
You said that you have an intent on having a relationship with the unknown. And this has just been a very meaningful pointer to me. And so if you could talk about that.
Well, I don't know if I can talk about that because it's unknown. I have in my own journey certain intents, and that's what makes the journey so intense. And one of them is present moment awareness. In other words, I want to be all here. I really want to be all here. I don't want stuff going on unconsciously anymore. And whatever that takes, for heaven's sakes, whatever that takes. So I want to be here. That's one of the intents. The other one is that I want to have a real relationship with the unknown, with what we may call God. I want a real one. I don't want to have to imagine it. I don't want to have to hold crystals and go, okay. I don't want to have to wave stuff around. I want it to be real in the moment. And I don't care if it's only a little bit, if it's only a fragment, as long as it's real. Now, I don't even know what that means or what that looks like. Our journey is driven by the intent. Remember, we have intention and attention. Intention and attention. Those are our tools that we work with. And the intention is always the causal point of where our attention is moving. It's always going to be. The attention is of their mental body. That's driven by the intention. So it's very important that we get clear about what our intentions are without turning them into 5-year plans, because that's letting the mental body drive it again. Because once we establish a clear intention, everything that happens in our life experience, whether we are aware or not, is unfolding in order to bring that intention about. Our life is always an answer to a question we're asking. Always, always, always. The problem is we ask the questions unconsciously. We let a child of 7 years old and younger, who's had a really rough time and has some strange beliefs about what's going on, and his interpretations are very odd, run the show. And we wonder why things get sabotaged and don't turn out the way we want, because it's asking weird questions. So we better get in there and have a relationship and start parenting this child and set an example for it that wasn't done for us, because no one can do it for us. We need to do that for ourselves, so that the causal point of our experience becomes conscious, becomes compassionate, becomes responsible, becomes consistent, becomes unconditional, and starts to seek out something real. So that's what Paul was referring to, is that I want a relationship with the unknown, which is hard because you can never get to know it, but I still want that, whatever that is. And I don't know what that looks like, but it sure is having an effect on my experience. And as long as I have that, I only want that to matter. I only want that to matter. And that's a journey, because whatever God is infinite. And this is where the mind has just got to just blow off. Like when a rocket's going into space, it just lets go. The mind, parts of the mind, the mental framework just has to just blow away, shatter into space, because it cannot cope with infinite. It cannot cope with eternal. It cannot cope with forever and ever. Amen. It'll focus on the full stop at the end of that sentence, not on what the sentence is trying to imply. So if what God is, whatever this unknown is, that maybe I can only begin to have a real relationship with on a vibrational level, is infinite, then my journey is forever and ever. Amen. I'm in no hurry. Not going anywhere. Whatever's happening is going to happen right here, and wherever I go, in whatever moment I'm in. It's the only place it's going to have nowhere for me to go. I just got to allow it into the moment that I'm already in. That's why I love the word nowhere. Now, here. Nowhere. And in the teachings of Carlos Castaneda, Don Juan said to him, we start off nowhere and we end up nowhere. And our only choice is whether we choose to walk a path of heart or not. And the path of heart opens the doorway. It's the porthole.
Michael, I know the more I work with my emotional body that it will change the people in my surroundings, my family. I have a daughter who's...
It won't change the people in your surroundings and family. Okay. It'll change your perception of them.
Okay. I have a daughter who's 4 and a son who's 10. You have some insight to give that would help me to teach them more of the presence process, to grow within them.
You can be an example of it. There's nothing you can do but be an example of what it is you want them, the biggest experience you can hold for them in your heart. You have to be that, and they will automatically get that from you. They will automatically choose the highest road given. We do. That's why someone who grows up and is a violent killer, that actually when they were a child was the highest road shown to them. Can you imagine the low roads that they went through? So children will automatically resonate to the highest road. Automatically. And the learning or the example isn't set by anything you say. It's got nothing to do with your words. Words, even Jesus said that. He didn't go, by their words they shall be known. By their fruits. By their fruits. And all you have to do is get into your own garden, plant beautiful things there, abundant that you can share, and your children will come play in the garden. Enough doing things to the children. The children of today are coming to say, you're not going to do any more of that stuff. We're going to break that whole thing down. We are going to break this whole thing down because it's not working. And the problem with being a teacher to children is we can only teach them what we know. And what we know, it doesn't work. So we can only teach them what doesn't work. So it's an interesting situation to be in. How many of us stop and ask them what it is they really want to find out and do whatever we can to make that possible for them? We just assume that we know what they're supposed to learn. We make an ass out of them and us. And the thing is, the consciousness is growing so aware and so powerful that the children are going to break those systems down one way or another. They're going to spit on them. And that's part of the journey too, until we get it. Stop trying to do something to them and start taking care of our own hearts. That's the best example we can set for any child in this world. It's the only thing that will transform that experience. It's when we go around trying to, okay, this breathing works for me. Okay, let me get all the classroom of kids around here and get them breathing. Boom. I better take responsibility for what I'm doing there. For every moment someone consciously connects their breathing through your intent. Remember, you're radiating your intent into them. You're going to start putting them into process. And they're not going to just process in your company so that you can facilitate them and feel really good. They are going to process everywhere they go. And that's why the word responsibility. Responsibility. What does this really mean? It doesn't mean fiddling. Because the stuff in our heart that's our fear, our greatest fears, what we're most angry about, what's the most heartbreaking experiences we've ever had are in there. Tread gently. To do anything else is to lack compassion. So don't go and fiddle with other people. That's where conversionism is startlingly irresponsible. Be careful that we're not converting other people to stuff because we're not doing it ourselves. There's a whole chapter in the book written about radiating present moment awareness responsibly. Jesus didn't heal anybody. I don't believe it. Sorry, I don't buy that story. I don't believe someone of that awareness would go and just take stuff away from people when that's where the goods are. I don't believe it. Don't buy it for a moment. It turns them into something we cannot be and keeps us separate from that whole experience. So he raised people from the dead. But when we're not in the present moment, we're dead too. And he gave people back their insight. It didn't mean they were physically blind. Insight. So when we enter the heart center, we will understand the metaphors behind these things. And then the miracles won't be things that are so profoundly, unbelievably beating every physical law. They'll be every moment that we're in. That's the miracle and what that moment holds for us. Those are the real miracles. And we're told, this is the only Son of God, but he said, you are all gods, and you will do greater things than I. You will do greater things than I. How can we possibly do anything greater than the only Son of God? You can't follow that act. So when we go into the emotional body and we do our own emotional work, these things are revealed to us in our own experience. We'll see them for what they are. They're metaphors and symbols, parables. That's why he spoke in parable, because he was speaking to the heart, not to the mind. So heal thyself, healer. Heard that one too. Don't go around trying to fiddle with everybody. And be responsible even with your own work. Be really responsible. This is your heart you're talking about. This is the creative aspect of your own being. The way that I relate to my own heart, the way that I am with my own heart is the quality of the experience I manifest for my whole world. Right there, in relationship. That is the relationship that we're all looking for.
Could you speak a little bit more about the difference between intention and what that's really all about and making plans?
So intentions and plans are quite different because intentions have consequences. And when we set an intention, we are working with consequence and we are open to outcome. When we have plans, we're dealing with results and we have a specific outcome in mind that we are going to try and make that happen and control our circumstances to get that happen. In other words, completely shut the universe out of it completely. And so I'll do it as a 5-year plan. You've heard those things. Okay, get a 5-year plan. Okay, then break it down to each year. Then take each year, break it down to each month. Okay, take each month, break it down to each week. Then break it down to each day. Now I know what I'm doing every day. And break each day down to each hour and then to each minute. Now I know what I'm doing every minute of every day for the next 5 years. No wonder I need to go and have fun. I've just shut the whole universe out. There can be no magic there. There can only be great disappointment because I cannot control God, even if I think that I can. A plan would be this. I would arrive here today with a set of questions that you are allowed to ask. And I will have already rehearsed the answers that I'm going to give you. So there's nothing for you to do. I'll get Paul to read the questions and I will read out the answers. And then we'll leave and everything will have gone as planned. That's what a plan is. An intention is we come here intending to go anywhere and everywhere, and we most certainly will. To be open to the outcome of that intention. And the intention is to bring greater awareness to this work and to integrate some of the things that have come up for us during the intensive we did yesterday and the talk on Friday evening, and to continue to weave that tapestry that we've been working with together over the weekend. But how to do that? God is how. The universe is how. The universe is always how. And that's where we get stuck. If anyone has problems and they come and tell you their problems, listen for how many times they say the word how in there. I just don't know how to earn more money, and I don't know how to pay my rent, and I don't know how I'm going to get a car, and I don't know how well, God is how. Bottom line, get with that program. The what is ours. The what. So what is the intention? Get very clear on the intention, then back away from it and allow it to unfold. It's cause and effect. Stay in the causal place. Don't go into the effect place. Plans are ineffectual. They're all about the effect. They're all about the result. A result is something, I'm going to compare this to what I thought and let me see, okay, now I'm really disappointed. Okay, because I did not get the results I wanted to. Consequences are something's going to happen through my intention. And determined by the clarity of my intention are going to be the clarity of the consequences. So how clear can I get on my intent? But then I must allow it to unfold. And you can try this on yourself, just simply, to build your own faith that there actually is another part of this experience that we might want to call God or presence or something, and it's working intimately with us when we allow it, because it does not believe in interference. It believes in non-interference. It has to be allowed in for us to be aware of it. It doesn't barge in and bang on the door and take over. It works in the way we respond to it. So if I'm going into any situation, for example, say I'm having a conflict with somebody else, and I know I'm going to meet with them tomorrow at 3 o'clock, and we're going to enter this conflict. We're going to talk about the conflict that we're in. Now, if I have a plan, I will decide what I'm going to talk about, what I'm going to say. This is what I'm going to say. And then I will decide what the outcome is going to be. And then this is what I want to accomplish. And unless I get to say what I'm going to say, and unless the outcome is the way that I want to accomplish it exactly how, well, we're just going to have more conflict, aren't we? Those are the results. Those are the plans. But I could rather try it a different way. I could have an intention. And the intention is always about being open to outcome and what is the feeling of the outcome. Remember, the feeling is the causal point of the experience. So when I work with my intention, let me work with feeling. Not details, not ideas, thoughts, plans, analysis, all of that, but feeling. So what I do is I place myself at the outcome of the conflict, of the conversation I'm going to have with this person. How do I want to feel when I walk away from that encounter? How do I want to feel? And then I allow myself to feel that feeling now, because if I can't feel it now, I'm not going to get it then anyway. How do I want myself to feel? And then I just picture myself. Now I can use my mental point of focus. I picture myself leaving that situation, feeling that way. And I make sure I have a very strong feeling over that picture. And then I make my preparations, whatever I can prepare. What are the things I need to talk about? Make those preparations. And then I leave that alone, and I walk into that situation and allow what's going to happen and participate in it as it happens. Not control it, not manipulate it, but just participate. And let the universe weave its magic. Because the universe can take me to that outcome better than anything that I could possibly do. And if I do not interfere in that moment, when I walk out, I'll be feeling the way I asked to feel. And if I'm feeling at peace walking out, isn't that going to have been resolved? I don't have to worry about those details of how that comes about. The how is God. The how is the universe. That's how we enter a co-creative relationship. And start with little things. And when you see that you always get your feeling, you won't get the goods and stuff. Asking this universe for stuff is like a child asking a father for a gun, a loaded gun. We're always going to shoot ourselves in the foot with details, plans and stuff. But you can ask for feeling. How do I want to feel? If I've got a long plane trip, 27 hours in an airplane, I cannot control what's going to happen through that flight. I can try and be exhausted at the end of it. But what I can do is place myself at the airport where I'm arriving through the doors. Now I'm off the plane, I'm arriving. How do I want to feel in that moment? Rested, cheerful, good spirits? How do I want to feel? Can I feel that now? See myself there, place the feeling, let it go. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy the ride means let everything in as you go through it. That's what enjoy means. Go and enjoy yourself. Allow everything to happen. Don't allow everything to happen. And then I'll see that when that works for me, I'll go, that's pretty nifty. I ended up sitting someone on the plane who was really interesting. They showed a great movie. I loved watching that movie. That was the one I've been waiting to see. I managed to get all this sleep. I never sleep on the plane, but I felt deeply relaxed and slept. I couldn't have made that happen. I got to the other side and I felt great, ready to go. Maybe there's something to this, working with the universe as opposed to controlling it through my plans. Because my plans will always come from what I think I know. Intention is very different. So it's important for us to get clear on our intentions. That's our job. For me, being present, for example, is a feeling. It's not a situation, okay, now when this is here, and that's there, that's when I've entered present moment awareness. No, it's not about the physical circumstances or the mental processes. It's about how I'm feeling. Present moment awareness for me is a feeling.